We have seen the acceleration of two things over the past month of Donald Trump's presidency. The first, unfortunately, being Donald Trump's complete abandonment of our ally in Ukraine, which was culminated really yesterday in his call with Vladimir Putin, in which he essentially sold out Zelensky and the Ukrainian people, then followed it up with an interview with Laura Ingraham where he just couldn't stop praising Putin. But the other thing that we've seen a lot of in the past month of the Trump presidency is a lot better, and that is the non-stop booing of Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans across the country. And those two things came together at a town hall last night in which Donald Trump's Putin praise and abandonment of Ukraine was mercilessly booed. And we are going to get into all of that. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, like I said, this was a mass booing of Donald Trump. But before we get into it, I want a bit of context on what they were so upset about with two clips from Donald Trump's interview with Laura Ingraham.
Putin actually said to me, if you're my friend, I'd hate to see you as my enemy. He said that very strongly. But with all of that, I had a very good relationship with Putin. I had a very good relationship with President Xi, a very good relationship with Kim Jong-un of North Korea. Lots of good relationships. And that's a positive thing. That's not a negative thing. But at the same time, I'm about our country. So that's why we're talking about tariffs. We'll be taking in trillions of dollars.
More with Canada than you are with some of our biggest adversaries.
Only because it's meant to be our 51st Street. And
okay, but
but listen to this for a second.
We need their territory. They have territorial advantage. We're not going to let them get close to China.
Look, right? I deal with every country, indirectly or directly. One of the nastiest countries to deal with is Canada. The people that, now this was Trudeau, the people that good old Justin, I call him Governor Trudeau, his people were nasty, and they weren't telling the truth. They never told the truth. You know that, they'd say, well, we don't charge. Well, they do. They charge tremendous.
Those two clips really just say it all. Donald Trump is openly admitting he thinks Vladimir Putin is his friend and is thus doing him a favor because he's been so completely swayed. He's that easy to win over. I'm not even going to say easy to win over. He's that stupid. Donald Trump is that stupid and insecure that Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping are batting their collective eyelashes at him, and he immediately folds. And on the Canada thing, it is crazy that you have Laura Ingraham pushing back on Donald Trump's attacks on our allies, both in Ukraine and our neighbors to the north in Canada. Like, that is crazy that Laura Ingraham is trying to shape Donald Trump's foreign policy because he is that incompetent and putting us in that much danger. But it wasn't the only example of the reason that crowds last night were upset with Donald Trump. So before we get into the boos, I want to play another example of what they were so upset about.
Do you consider what's happening an act of domestic political terrorism against one of your allies?
So Elon is a patriot. And again, I hardly knew Elon until the election. And he turned out that he liked me better than he liked these radical lunatics that were in it, better than Kamala, better than Joe, because he's an intelligent person. He backed me, and he went, and he got very much involved. He thought, he actually would go around saying, if Trump doesn't win, our country is over.
But do you consider this an act of domestic terrorism?
I think so.
Why?
I think that if and when they catch the people, and I hope they do, the good thing is they have a lot of cameras in those places, and they've caught some already having to do with that. I think that you will find out that they're paid by people that are very highly political on the left.
Of course, lighting Teslas on fire and attacking dealerships is wrong. Protests of Tesla and Elon Musk at large should be peaceful, and they have been. So the fact that this is drawing Donald Trump's focus is, one, ridiculous, and two, hypocritical, because he pardoned violent insurrectionists. And like I said, all of this coming together led to the beautiful boos we saw last night, and I want to play two clips of the boos and a certain chant directed at Elon Musk.
Question is here.
Hi, I do want to thank you for actually doing a town hall, so thank you for that. The rest of it's probably not going to be so pleasant. So first of all, I do want to say shame. I want to say shame for your comment, your quote that you said, President Zelensky's approach today was disrespectful to President Trump and undermines the goal of bringing peace and that. So shame on that. But, second of all, I am the daughter, the niece, the sister of veterans, Korea veteran, Iraqi war. I have received the American Legion Auxiliary newsletter for quite a long time. For decades, they have stated that we are underfunded and understaffed, repeatedly stated that. You have said otherwise with DOGE. Who's lying, them or you?
We owe our veterans the best possible care we can afford. I'm going to say it again. It's a promise we made. It's a promise we'll keep. And it is important not just to Republicans. It's important to Democrats. It's important to independents. Supporting our military and supporting our veterans is something that should unite us as Americans. And I will work as your member of Congress to address that. I do believe that that White House meeting was a disaster. And I believe that President Zelensky should have signed that agreement. The other thing I believe is that you read from a press report, and in that same press report, I said 4 things. I said, number 1, Ukraine should give up no land to Russia. They should return the 20,000 kidnapped kids. We should support NATO, and we should have better relations with Ukraine. That has been my position on Ukraine from the start. Next question. Okay, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. So your proposal to solve this is to tax the rich.
Such a sweet, sweet sound. Both the voters in a red district calling out their Republican congressman for supporting Donald Trump's attack on Zelensky, and of course calling out Donald Trump himself, but also the cheers of tax the rich. I love to hear it. So, so beautiful. This isn't just about Donald Trump. It's about his co-president as well, and the government for the billionaires and sure as hell by the billionaires that they are building right now. It is incredibly unpopular, and this is our moment to call it out. It's not just the Elon stuff, it's the foreign policy as well. And Rachel Maddow talked all about that in this clip right here.
For all the different ways that Donald Trump and his top campaign donor, defendant Elon Musk, are terrifying and turning off even their own voters, as we saw in those focus groups in Michigan, and all the ways they are terrifying and turning off and angering people who live in Trump Republican districts, for all the loss after loss after loss after loss they are being dealt in the courts. There's one other element of what's going on with Trump that I want to point out here as a matter of, I just think this needs to be factored in more regularly when we talk about the public reaction to Trump, when we talk about public opinion of what he's doing. Because there is one thing about his presidency that, I mean, for all of the other unpopular and failing things about this young presidency, there's one thing about this presidency that is just unprecedented in how radically out of step it is with the American people. There's such a difference between what Trump wants and what the American people want on one particular issue that I actually think it is not sustainable in normal small d democratic terms. So I want to put this, I want to stick a pin in this because I think this is important now and it's going to get more important as things get weirder and weirder. This is from the NBC News poll that just came out yesterday. Americans were asked, in the war between Russia and Ukraine, with which of those countries do you sympathize more? Ukraine, 61% of Americans said, I sympathize more with Ukraine. Russia, the proportion of Americans who say, I sympathize more with Russia is 2%. 2% sympathize with Russia. Americans are asked, okay, well, that's where your sympathies are. Where do you believe the president's sympathies are? Where do you think Trump's sympathies are? Ukraine, 8%. Russia, 49%. Overall, Trump is underwater by minus 13 points on his handling of the war between Russia and Ukraine. A significant majority of the public thinks that he is wrong in his handling of the Russia-Ukraine war. Americans asked specifically, hey, what's your idea, what's your view on Russia? The proportion of Americans who view Russia positively right now is 6%. The proportion of Americans who view Russia negatively is 68%. How about Vladimir Putin, the guy? How about himself? The proportion of Americans who have a positive view of Vladimir Putin is 3%. The proportion of Americans who have a negative view of Vladimir Putin is 84%. Okay? So the American view on this is very clear. And the American people are very aware of how different Trump's view is to their own. All right? And this is, it's a statistical oddity. I'm not sure there's ever been anything like this before in presidential politics. But this is part of what the Trump presidency means. And it accounts for some of the weirdest stuff in it. I mean, today, in the midst of all the other chaos that he is wreaking in our own government, right? They're today amid the news that they really are apparently going to go ahead with this change at Social Security. They're going to force 80,000 retired and disabled Americans every week to physically go in person to Social Security offices that they are also shutting down and firing people from by the thousands, as they announced today that they really are going to do that. They're today amid the disaster scene at FDA headquarters, where they told 10,000 people to show up at an office that has 6,000 parking places with no chairs or offices for most of them. And that's how they're going to run the FDA now. They're today amid the news that they've just, fired hundreds of dam operators and engineers who operate the hydroelectric dams in 17 Western states. Accidentally fired all the people who keep the lights on and keep the dams safe there. I mean, there today, amid that sort of daily litany of that kind of wreckage, there's Donald Trump, twirling his hair and spending 2 hours on the phone with his bestie, Vladimir Putin. 2 hours on the phone, more than 2 hours on the phone, talking to his friend, Vladimir Putin, who has, again, a 3% approval rating with the American people, because the American people know who he is.
Everything, and I mean everything Donald Trump is doing right now is so incredibly unpopular. It is a huge mistake if Democrats do not take every opportunity they possibly can to call him out on every action. And I know there's a lot of worry within the party if it's worth it or not to focus on foreign policy, if people will care about the aid that we give to Ukraine, or whether immigration is too much of a winning issue for Donald Trump for us to call out the way that he is unlawfully carrying out this mass deportation plan. But I disagree. You cannot be scared in this moment, and you can also not be scared if you want to be a leader. That's why you were elected. Go and do your job and call him out. We are certainly going to be doing so on this show every single day, and if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.